Okay, well, as you can see, we're back here again, and this is going to be a little different video than what you normally get from me. And the title of this one is going to be Templating the Body of Light. The first thing that I want to mention in the video here, because some people are going to assume that this video is going to be about the ascension process or similar things that go along with that, light body, Merkaba, such familiar things, and a lot of the information that goes along with it, along with the teachers that have been presenting information on it for a multitude of years. And what I'm going to do is simply give you the information that I have to share, and you can choose to accept it or reject it. It's entirely up to you. But I do know that the information will probably be very useful to quite a few people. But in order to explain this this video a little bit, I'm going to give information on an experience that I had some years ago, and to say that the total outcome of this video is not based on my experience, but only the experience initially in the beginning and the outcome that has been given to me that's coming down the road, and which is already being manifested in quite a few people. So I'd like to kind of do it that way, if I may. This is a little bit of a different step for me, going off topic, so to speak, from my normal information. But what I'd like to do initially in the beginning is go back to an experience that I had about 25 years ago, which actually starts this whole video off. And I'm going to mention right here too, is I'm one of these people. I'm very patient, and sometimes, unlike a great many other people out there, I don't need to get the answer now. I don't have to have it immediately. I'm willing to wait, in some cases, 25 years to get it. And that's exactly what's happened. So to go back 25 years in my life, and I want to share this experience with you. I'm going to edit it down somewhat because I don't want to make it too long of a video. During the course of my daily meditations at one particular time, I had the habit of doing my meditations in a room that we used for healing, for healing clients to come. And I would do the healing there, so I was obviously lying on the healing table. And what took place was, after going through my usual regime, I'm laying there just kind of relaxing, and I noticed around the navel belly button area, slightly a little bit below the belly button area, suddenly I felt this kind of a burning pain type of thing, if you want to call it that. And then I felt a kind of a warm liquid type of feeling kind of run up and fill the belly button area. It was kind of a really weird to start off experience. And what took place over the next 4 hours, okay, is what I want to edit down a little bit. But what took place after that initial signal or symptom took place is this warm liquid kind of energy. I'm going to call it liquid light for lack of a better expression, excuse me. It went all down one leg, then it went down the other leg, and then it started to fill the upper part of the body. And you could imagine, you know, if you could look at somebody sitting inside of a water tank, and suddenly the water starts coming up inside of the tank, and you could imagine what they might be feeling like. That's what it felt like to me. I could actually feel this liquid light just filling up the body, going up slowly. And if you've ever seen a thermometer sitting in the sunlight, and it starts at the bottom, and as it warms up, the mercury in the thermometer starts to rise until it gets to the top. That's pretty much what it felt like. And actually it took, as I recall, because we had a clock in the healing room at that time, and it took from the time it started in the navel to by the time it completely filled the whole body, starting from one leg and into the other, and then, as I said, on the upper body, right up into the head. The clock was at, I believe, if I remember correctly, 10 after 11 in the morning. By the time it got to my head, it was, I think, around quarter after 1 in the afternoon, and I'm laying there this whole time, fully conscious, fully aware of what was going on, and I just thought that the best thing to do was just surrender to the process, because obviously I was not feeling any difficulty. I was in no physical discomfort, and I felt kind of relaxed and very peaceful. I can say quite safely as the experience was going on. However, things changed shortly after that. When it got to the top of my head, what took place next is really and was quite surprising to me. Suddenly, this whole body, okay, this liquid light body, if I can describe it that way, it suddenly lifted out of my physical body, and it's kind of up above my physical body, and I could still feel the physical body down on the healing table, but I could feel this liquid light body lift up, and it was kind of raised up above my physical body, and then all of a sudden it started to vibrate. Now, when I say vibrate, it just came alive, literally, with energy. It just was like a radiating, pulsating, emanating body of liquid energy and light. And at the same time, I recognized a great sense of clarity of consciousness, and I was not afraid. I was very comfortable. I was surprised, I can say. And this part of it lasted, the raising up and this vibration went on for about, I don't know, probably 10, 15 minutes, as I recall. And I recall being fully conscious at the time. And then just as quickly, suddenly the vibration, the energy of it kind of dissipated. And I felt the liquid light body settle back down into the physical body, and it disappeared. And I got up. And I have to say, after that, I spent a lot of time looking on the internet afterward, talking to people afterward. And the best over the years that I could come across to give me any insight as to what was going on was I found some information, Googled it, of course, like everybody else does. All right. The best I could find was something called the Hara, okay, spelled H-A-R-A. And the information that I did find on the Hara was something that was some kind of power source or energy source, which could be found 2 inches below the navel, or the belly button area. And it was something there that could be accessed by people. And in most cases, it was cut off or supposedly closed off, and we didn't really have access to it anymore. And that's pretty much the basic thing that I could find in most of the situations where I was looking for the information. However, I do believe now that there's so much more to it than that, all right, which brings me to the focus and the point now, all right. I have to kind of put this into a story form here to make it understandable so people can understand that this is part of the evolutionary process, all right? And what I understand now is, having found the information I did on the Hara, I've now been downloaded and given the information that I had been templated, and most of you have heard me use that word in a previous video, templated with a body, all right, that would be the body of existence in the now at some point, all right? And I've got this information a while back, and again, I don't really do anything with information until I get validation. And what I've been doing is I've had a lot of contact with a lot of people over the last little while, and they're talking about the symptoms that they are experiencing, the loss of coordination, they're having all kinds of problems with walking, they're having physical difficulties, they're having issues with diet, they're having issues with changes in the organs in their body, all kinds of symptoms going on. And I'm starting to put two and two together, and I'm starting to realize that what's happened here is a rather unique situation is taking place. And to kind of get into it in a bit more detail, I have to kind of jump forward now. I don't want to seem as though I'm going all over the place here, but I believe I've been, templated with that experience for the purpose at some point of growing into it. And what I mean by that is, as I said, this has happened to me over 25 years ago. So in order for me as a person to be able to grow into that potential experiencing, manifesting somewhere in my lifeline now, I would have to go through all of the appropriate personality, emotional, mental, and all of the physical changes necessary to be able to do that. And I believe that that's what I've been doing. Now, what I have learned over the course of my own spiritual awakening, in spite of the fact of all of the gifts and skills and the psychic abilities that we manifest, okay, the clairvoyance, the clairaudience, the ability to do healings, the ability to talk to spirits and all of that stuff, those are only byproducts of spiritual awakening. In my definition, the true meaning of spiritual growth is the evolution of our personalities, okay? And I believe that's the saving grace of what's going on here, is we have to come to a point where we go through enough of eliminating any blockages, dysfunctional patterns, hereditary traits that are causing ill health, and dietary intake that is causing anything along this line, to come to a point where we develop these types of characteristics, all right, in our personality. And an example of a few of them would be sincerity, honesty, compassion, empathy, honesty, principles, integrity, authenticity. All of these are the finer qualities of personality. And a good number of us, thousands of us, have developed those qualities over the years, not by chance, but by challenge, all right? And the challenge in developing them meant that we went through what is called a spiritual awakening. And the spiritual awakening put us in situations where we had to make changes in our lifestyle, changes in our environment, changes in our career, changes in our relationships, all right? Changes in the way we believe things, changes in what we take in as believable, or what we take in as being responsible in the development of our own character. And this brings up a point here that I'm going to make now, that you've heard me talk about templating, some of you have. And a great many of you have heard me say, well, we're going to be able to put into a situation where if you want to be able to change something within yourself, you're going to be able to draw or put out a vibration or a request for someone to come to you who has risen above, moved beyond the particular difficulty or the challenge that you're having. And the response that I got on the last video was overwhelming. Okay, a lot of people knew exactly what I was talking about, and they understood exactly what I was talking about, and we're now putting it into play. So having said that, I want to put this out to you because it's been given to me now, that when I went through that experience over the course of those 25 years, all right, and I have had the opportunity to do, I don't know, thousands of readings for people. I have come in contact with thousands of people through the spiritual community. And, without saying this in an egotistical way, all right, some people will assume that that's what I'm doing here, being very egotistical. But I believe that having gone through that particular template, that the thousands of people that I may have come across or connected with, without my consciously knowing it, all right, I have templated those people with the experience that I've had 25 years ago that will assist them to get to the point of moving into what I call the body of light. Because what's happening now is the physical symptoms that we're having, the environmental changes that we're having, and the belief system changes that we're having that are taking place now, is we are evolving to a point where what has to happen is either some of us start leaving, okay, because we can't handle being here anymore, or we need a new vehicle. We need a new vehicle of which we can exist in a physical environment in three-dimensional reality, which is conducive. And I now believe, and I know, that that vehicle is similar to the one that I experienced some 25 years ago, and that I've templated that unconsciously, okay, not consciously or willfully to anyone, but to the appropriate people, if the vibration and the development of themselves was appropriate to an appropriate outcome. Now, am I the only one that is doing this or has done a similar experience? I don't know. Have I come across anybody who has had a similar experience? I've come across people who talk about a liquid light experience, but I've not come across people who have had an experience that is relatively close to mine, so I don't know if there are others who are templating. I'm going to assume, okay, I'm not naive enough to believe that I'm the only one that's doing this, but I believe there probably are a few more that have done this, and this, again, they would be located in strategic parts of the planet in different cultures and different races. How many would there be? Geez, I don't know. I don't even speculate on. I'm just certain there would be more. The other thing that I want to mention here in this video is that there have been some key events or sequences of things take place that precipitates and actually is the thing that needs to happen before this experience of this body of light comes into being. And I want to get into it for a moment just to give people some rough understanding of it. A great many of you remember when you had your heart center awakening, all right? And when you had your heart center awakening, the one thing that happened, all right, for every one of you, myself included, is none of us had any idea what was going on. And the other thing that we became acutely aware of right off the bat was we had no control over anything that started happening after our heart center awakened. And we all went through some very challenging times of not understanding what was going on. We couldn't control this energy in the center of our chest. Our lives turned to shit in a great many cases, literally. And we were forced, literally, to make changes in relationships, changes in environments, changes in our lifestyle, changes in our belief system. And we went through what some people call the dark night of the soul, which really doesn't exist, because what happens is, as we're making these changes, just because we didn't understand what was going on, that we were going through a process, that we were experiencing all of these things, all right? So what's happened at that particular point is each individual, and it's still going on today, we are having still, and I want to mention here, people talk about, the event, and every year you have people coming out, soothsayers and prophets and all of that kind of shit, and they all keep saying about a new event is going to happen and this is going to happen. The big event, the event that everybody's been waiting for, actually happened 20 years ago, and that is the massive heart center awakening that started then and has been ongoing since, all right? And this is happening every decade. What is happening, we've had a new generation of people go through the massive heart center awakening. This is a humongous event that's going on. This is a process that's going on that is just mind-boggling when you take a look at it. And also, at this particular point also is, and this all fits together, all right? If you take the experience that I had, all right, and you take a look at a lot of what's going on in your life now, a great many of you will have come to the conclusion that something's got to change. You can't keep existing in a physical body that you have now, being the personality and the consciousness that you are. Something's got to change, something's got to give. So what happens is you then have access to a balanced masculine feminine. One of the first priorities, to go back to the heart center for a moment, is one of the things that happens immediately upon heart center awakening. A lot of people don't realize this, all right, is so many of us are so out of balance, okay, that the very first thing that has to be established in the body, in the etheric body, is a balance of energy. And that balance of energy is called yin-yang, masculine and feminine. So when the heart center awakens, the difficulty that we have in the physical symptoms that we're going through, and at the same time the Kundalini energy in most people become active, immediately there is the activation, and what is happening is you have to have two streams of energy, all right, move into the heart center chakra, and one is called masculine and one is called feminine. And as they move up with the Kundalini experience, they open a knot at the back of the heart center, and the masculine and feminine energy stream into the heart center, and that's where everything starts, okay? When that masculine feminine energy ignites or produces in the heart center chakra, this is what creates all of the scenarios, all of the circumstances, all of the people and situations that come toward you, the individual, that you suddenly have to face and deal with. In other words, your life goes to shit, as I said, okay? And you're dealing with all of this stuff. Why? Because your heart center is in balance and everything around you isn't, okay? Your mental faculty isn't in balance. Your emotional body sure as hell isn't in balance. And your brain hemispheres are not in balance. You're usually functioning dominantly from one side to the other, all right? And the first thing that has to happen is this takes place within the heart center, all right? When balance is achieved there, relatively speaking, what can happen then is you get access to the 12 chakra system, which was the original chakra system that we had eons ago before we fell in vibration and no longer had access to them anymore, all right? And with the 12 chakra system, what comes into play is if you'll take, for example, changes in your personality, all right, and the acquiring of certain aspects of character and personality that come along, you will see that they coincide with the development and the awakening of these chakras and the modifying of the old 7 chakra system to the 12. And you'll see that there are 12 aspects of personality, or 12 key characteristics of personality that you have developed throughout this awakening process. So the move towards the embodiment of the body of light has been going on in individuals now for 2 or 3 decades, all right? And it's now coming to fruition right now, today, in this particular lifeline. The other thing that I want to mention here is I'm constantly hearing in the spiritual community about new energy. Okay, every time you turn around, you got some astrologer, or you got some card reader, or you got some whomever, whatever, saying we're going to have new energy is now streaming in, or the lunar cycle is really strong and we're going to get access to some new energy, all right? I've said this before and I'm going to say it again, one more time, all right? There is no new energy coming from anywhere, period, okay? Any energy that anyone is experiencing now, today, in the past 5 to 10 years, is not new at all, all right? Keep in mind, folks, keep in mind here, okay? You have had a heart center activation, all right? That gave you access to something you haven't had for a long time. Then the activation of the 12 chakra system started to come into play, okay? And the additional new chakras. That gave you access to energy you never had for a long time, all right? And then what happens is, as the 12 chakra system begins to function, the personality begins to grow and evolve and change. Then the meridian system, and I'm not talking about the meridian system, the Chinese meridian system in the physical body, I'm talking about the meridian system in the etheric body, which is a duplicate body of your physical body, which has been dormant for well over 2,000 years and is now being activated. All right. And as it opens up, it gives you access to energy that you've lost before. So no one is getting new energy. Okay, let's understand this once and for all. No one is getting new energy from anywhere. Any planetary body, any universe, any cosmos, any guide, any divine teacher, all right? All that you're getting is access through the 12 chakra system and the meridian system in the etheric body to energies that you've lost access to a long time ago, and you're just now coming into awareness of it as these receptors, chakras, are opening up and giving you access to it. And immediately as this is happening, this new awareness opens up. What's happening is certain parts of your body, which are connected to certain parts of the 12 chakra system and the meridian system as a whole is specifically oriented towards moving you into the body of light, but it's specifically there. Its main purpose, I know my practitioners are going to love this when I say this because I haven't told any of them yet, all right, is for no other reason is it there but to change the cellular, the molecular, and the organs of the body, all organs of the body, including the skin and the outer, all right, to the point of moving to the body of light and moving the person from physical density, okay, to a carbon-based body, to a silicone or light-based body, if you will. And that's the main purpose of the meridian system. And I just got that information recently. My practitioners will be pissed off with me now because I didn't give it to them already. I just got it, guys, so don't be too upset with me, okay? And when this happens, this is the situation that a lot of people are going through right now. They're having a lot of problems with organs, digestions, assimilation, reproductive area, breathing, viruses, all kinds of stuff going on because the body is now accessing, the etheric body is now accessing through the meridian system all of the energies that it needs and requires that it didn't have access to before, and making the changes in the organs and cellular structure. Even the skeletal structure of the body is being changed, and it's all happening through this meridian system. Now, to put it all together, all right, if you add in what I just said about the 12, the meridian system, go back to the experience that I mentioned about in the beginning, about that body of light, and then take into the fact of what I mentioned in my last video about templating, and I'm blown away. I'm literally blown away. Now, one other thing that I want to mention in this video that is probably very important is this, is because the attributes of personality are so keen here, I'd like everybody to understand that there can't be produced any individuals in this process that will do harm to anyone or anything on the planet. Now, what I mean by that, there is a safety mechanism built in, all right? And I'm in agreement with Eckhart Tolle in a great many ways, and one of them that he made statement is it's survival of the fittest. And it's survival of the fittest when it comes to the spiritual program and this process also. There seems to be this thing in the spiritual community that nobody can fail, everybody's going to pass. If you don't understand it now, you're going to understand it later. That's hogwash. There are people who have already made the decision through the evolutionary process that they can't, won't, don't want to, or couldn't care less about evolving and growing, and they're going to be rejected. And if anybody takes that the wrong way, all you need to do is to take a look at what's going on with mental disorders, okay? And how many people are ending up in mental institutions, all right, with all kinds of mental disorders, and they're staying there for extended periods of time, all right, when in reality, none of those people actually have a mental disorder. They don't. What they have is an emotional disorder. There cannot be any mental malfunction unless there's an emotional disorder. And the emotional disorder, strangely enough, guess where? Guess where? All of the emotional expressions happen to reside 2 inches above and in surrounding the belly button, which is the core, the seat of the emotional or the emotional chakra or the solar plexus chakra. Isn't that kind of weird? All right. So there's no such thing as mental disorders. They are emotional disorders manifesting through the thought process of the mental body. Manifesting through the thought processes of the mental body and nurtured by the emotional experience. So this is why at this particular point in time, so many people are going through emotional experiences that seem to them to be relatively uncontrollable, because the emotional energy is part of the process, okay? And if you cannot change or modify by allowing the process, okay, and this is why I understand when I had this experience and it began down here and it started in the navel area, I'm saying to myself, what happened? What the hell's going on? Because as that energy came up, it kind of came right into the belly button area, and I had this big kind of ball of energy of liquid light sit there, and I forgot to mention that in the beginning, for 4 or 5 minutes. And I realized later on what was going on. The whole of the emotional center, look, everybody knows, if you know anything about anatomy, we also know we have 2 brains, one in the head and one in the belly. All right, most people are aware of that if you have any knowledge of anatomy at all. There's a second brain, all right? And it's that second brain, which is the emotional body, all right, which is primitive to this up here. So, and this has been the dominant brain, really, in our life, because any shit that's ever happened on this planet, all right, literally, is because somebody lost their cool and got emotional. It's that simple. There's no other explanation for it. When somebody goes off their nut, it all happens here in the emotional body. When someone gets mad, it all happens here. All right? When somebody goes to war, it all starts here in the emotional body, in the emotional energy. So what's happened is, as we begin to move forward now, that emotional expression or that emotional disorder, okay, and I'm using the word disorders because I'm hoping people are going to start thinking about getting their emotions in some kind of balance by allowing the process to work, because I'm going to give you a little snippet of additional information here that's going to take place really shortly and already is. There are, of course my practitioners already know this, I apologize for this being a long video, but I got a little bit involved here, so it's flowing, you know what I mean? You know how it goes when you're flowing? So anyways, there are 2 big meridians on the hip area, and they are in direct conjunction with the reproductive area and the digestive and the emotional body or the emotional chakra. And when they open, okay, when these 2 meridians open, the symptoms can be sore hips on either side, all right? And they can go on in tandem, or they can be spontaneous and go on for weeks and even months in some people. What happens immediately is there's intense rising of sexual energy in the person. They also go through intense rising of digestive problems, digestive issues, change in food, all kinds of stuff going on. People go nuts, they go vegan, they go vegetarian. They do all of this stuff when they don't need to do it right away. They should let it unfold as their system begins to change. You cannot force anyone to make changes that they don't want to make. You cannot do that. The changes will happen progressively as the energy is coming in, will push, shove the person to moving that in that particular direction. So this is all of what's taking place. Now what's happened is this, okay, and this is the good part, okay? We got a whole pile of people, me included, all right, who we're at the point now where we've been going through this for years, okay, and we're very discerning. We're all authentic, Okay, it's almost to a flaw. I mean, we're so authentic now. I mean, hell, we're all scared to say anything because, well, there's no point because we're just too authentic. I mean, why bother saying anything because we're too authentic, all right? And we're all scared to say anything because we might say something, too real, too nice, or too truthful. Okay, if that's the appropriate word, and other people who are not quite on the same page we are get their noses all out of joint or their panties in a knot or whatever else that they do, kind of thing. So what happens is this becomes the issue of what's going on with the emotional feeling at this particular point in time. So when you do this, okay, and you're into this transition period, you get to the point where your coordination's not working. I'm having a problem picking up things. I'm having a problem doing basic tasks every day. Somebody could say, well, that's because you're an old guy, Mel. Yeah, I'm an old guy, but I'm in really good shape for being an older guy. All right. I don't have all the flaws that everybody else does that's 74. All right. I get around pretty good. And mentally, I am really sharp, and my mental faculties are keen, much more so than people half my age, as a matter of fact. But what happens is I talk to other people, and other people half my age are having the same problem. We're not functioning well in the environment. We're having problems with food intake, finding the appropriate food. We're having problems interacting with the general population. We're having problems in regard to interacting with other people in the spiritual community. So what's going to happen? Are we going to continue on until death do us part in all of this type of scenario? No. What's happening is the experience I talked about in the beginning of the video, all right, is now going to be activated in individuals. Like I said, there are probably others that have done this similar to myself, and I know I'm still doing it. I'm templating people every time I do a reading for them. I'm templating people every time that I talk to them or counsel them. I know I'm doing it. And if somebody says, well, it's a good way to drum up business, well, that's not what I'm doing here, okay? What I'm doing here is sharing with you that the importance of the templating aspect has been given to some of us as a gift to other people. And as I said, those of us who are able to do this don't do it by selection or do it consciously. It's done at an unconscious soul to soul level, if I can put it that way, and it's templated. And I know I've templated thousands of people, probably with this experience. So what I can tell those thousands of people that I personally know that I've templated, all right, because I've listened to some of you talking, and I know you personally, is that body that I'm talking about is soon going to come into prime focus. And the initiation of it will probably come as a very, very, very intense experience that will come spontaneously. And if my indications of what I've been going through is in the last month and a half, I've had 3 of those experiences where the whole body that I'm talking about illuminates, vibrates, and I feel very comfortable in it. And they're coming short term, okay? They're coming for about 5 to 10 minutes, 20 minutes at the most, and then I get a chance to adapt. So I'm going to put my foot out here, and I'm going to say that we're probably going to have in the next few months, at least in the next year, we're going to have quite a few people who are going to be walking around literally in a new body. And that new body is not going to feel like a physical body. It's going to feel like an energy body of which you're living in permanently, and you will be able to function in it. But to the average person, it will still look like a physical body. But to the person who has any awakening going on, they're going to be able to see that it's not the ordinary body. It is a body of light, and the physical body has simply been regressed, I guess is the word I would use, or pushed away or pushed in as this other body begins to radiate outward. And this is what all of the experiences are that we're going through at this particular point in time in preparation for the body of light. Now, again, I want to emphasize, this has nothing to do with the ascension process as taught by all of the teachers. This has nothing to do with light body. This has nothing to do with Merkaba. This is a process that has been given to us as a gift, all right? And I believe the biggest majority of the information that I'm doing dictates that each and every one of us developing the right characteristics and the appropriate personality traits will experience the body of light based on where we are, and there will be a great deal of variations on it, all right? But it will all be similar. The process will entail the basic core events and circumstances that I've mentioned, all right, in some semblance. And the way that you can do this to actually give you a comparison, I know this is a 40-minute video, I apologize, I didn't figure it was going to be this long. The way you can figure this out if you want is if you take a look at all of the experiences, I'm talking about the ones that were really profound or really intense, and if you take a look at them and you back them up, okay, take the one you had most recently and go to the next one behind and the next one and the next one and the next one, eliminate all of the time in between, put them all together, all right, and I'll bet you $50 that you will see your whole unfoldment, like time lapse, okay, gone, all right, in a perfectly unified, orderly process. And that's what I see going back 25 years, actually more than that, going back 35 years, all right, in my spiritual awakening. I can see a perfectly ordered process that's totally understandable. And looking at, when I look back at the dink that I was when I started, all right, and the idiot that I was in the middle, and sanity prevailed after about 35 to years of it, and now I think I finally reached a balance of mind, body, and spirit, and I'm ready for it. So if you've gone through the insanity, if you've been an idiot, and you've done some really dumb things, eliminate all of that stuff, take a look at the experiences that you had, and you will see by eliminating the time, the progress and the steps that you make, and you can give yourself a pat on the back for all of the challenges that you went through were nothing more than the removal of obstacles that other people's belief systems, religious indoctrination, political brainwashing, and educational system programming have put into your system. Okay? That's all you've been eliminating. And the behavior patterns also, I might add, that you've picked up from your parents, your peers, all stored in the emotional area. All right? So there you go. Now I'm going to stop it here because I think that's enough. Probably some of you fell asleep on me. Wake up, okay, and go back and listen to the video again, and perhaps it'll be beneficial to you. It's been a pleasure doing this one because this one was totally spontaneous, and there was information that kind of came out in the video that I wasn't anticipating being there because it was part of the download. But when I get a download, I don't hear a sound anymore. Okay, before I used to hear a high-pitched whine or hum, and then the download would come in and I'd feel the whole head expand. Now I don't feel that anymore. I just have a knowing, all right, that the information is there, and then after the knowing, I will get a visual thinking thought process, like a packet, if you will, a packet of energy that just unfolds in front of me, and I know. Kind of hard to put it into words, but that's the way it works for me. Anyways, hope you have a good day. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you need assistance or if you want to get in touch with us, goldraytwinflames.ca. That's our website. I understand the new one's going up in probably the next week or so, so you can take a peek at it. Okay, take care, everybody.